What's the good word, y'all? It's your boy DKB here. We're in the dregs of the NFL offseason right now, which means there's very limited news, at least of anything exciting or viral that's going out there outside of maybe Mike Florio's rankings right now. Aside from that, though, most of what I'm seeing is Jets beat writers, NFL analysts as a whole, anybody in that realm of work diving deep into their bag, right? They're looking at data or they're giving their 2 cents of what they've seen from training camps and, OTAs during the offseason, et cetera, et cetera. One of the more intriguing pieces that I've seen for the New York Jets is that we may not be done investing in this reconstructed offense, and specifically that the New York Jets may be looking to invest in the wide receiver room once again, and that may be done via poaching an AFC East rival roster, specifically the Patriots. So that's always a plus for us if we can find a productive candidate, right? In this instance, we're talking about Juju Smith-Schuster, who at this point in time, almost every article that I've seen, they mentioned him as essentially being a guaranteed cut candidate by the Patriots this offseason. Is really just a matter of when. I think this would be a very savvy pickup, smart move for the New York Jets. Now, at face value, I didn't really care a ton. But when you think about it, if most of the conversation around the New York Jets wide receiver room is going to be that we're just an injury away from things looking really, really bad. And it doesn't necessarily matter who that injury occurs to, if it's Mike Williams, if it's Garrett, right? That's true of pretty much almost any roster in the NFL. There's very few that have two, number one caliber wide receivers or anything crazy like that, right? So while I think we have a ton of passing capable weapons of an above average stature, right? Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Tyler Conklin, Mike Williams being the top. Still, I would want to definitely see us try to shore up as many things as possible. And one of the things I've been intrigued about is the fact that if you can find a way to keep Allen Lazard as your fourth wide receiver in this rotation, it's a win for the New York Jets. And one of the things I don't want us to necessarily have to rely on, and you can look at this through two prisms, right? One is you have young guys, give them as much ample experience as you can. Let's see if they can truly shine out. Or give them all the work that you can during the offseason, essentially, and don't expect to have to rely on these guys during the regular season unless you truly feel like they're showing you more than just flashes, right? There's a consistency element to the production that they're showing in the offseason, practices, preseason games, etc., etc. So I am a little bit wary, even with the exciting news about Xavier Gipson looking like he's turning a huge corner, even though, as I dug into this more, it's not necessarily from a skill point standpoint. It's more so that he is starting to understand exactly what Aaron Rodgers is looking for from him. And as being a guy that brings plus speed, has a little bit of a wiggle to his game, although he's not necessarily the most loose guy for his stature, still he's bringing a strong element that this New York Jets offense could utilize. So I'm excited about that. I'm happy that we'll get to actually see a lot more of the physicality that you're going to get out of the Yak King Malachi Corley. But ultimately, if I'm being realistic here, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams are at the top. Do you really want to go in and rely on Xavier Gipson, who hasn't topped, I believe it's 300 yards. Obviously, it was his rookie year. And Malachi Corley, who's a rookie and also has a pretty steep projected curve on what he can be in his first year in the league as a guy that's looked at as being pretty raw. Then you have Allen Lazard. His fall off is one of those ones you can throw into the long list of guys that needs to be studied. And then you're not really trusting a ton of the guys behind him either, right? Irv Charles, Jason Brownlee. These aren't guys that have done anything for us to say lock them in outside of special teams, and that goes to a guy like Irv Charles, right? So if you can bring in a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, 27 years old, He's had a down year with the Pats, but if you think about what he did most recently with the Chiefs, a couple years ago, coming off of almost 1,000-yard season, didn't really get a chance to get a ton of touchdowns, but he slides in pretty instantly into this New York Jets offense, a productive slot receiver that has the ability to also win on the outside. Kind of is coming from that same Allen Lazard mold, a guy that's worked his way up from his original franchise with the Steelers to a number one wide receiver spot before moving on, well, debatable number one spot, right? But essentially to the top of his depth chart position. And once he moved to a new team, you kind of seen the fall off, right? Consistency, familiar environment and stuff wasn't in Juju's favor. And of course, the quarterback play in the AFC East outside of a guy like Tua and Josh Allen was poor when you look at the Patriots and the Jets. So you can see a lot of those factors. I think this is an easy win. At worst, you should be looking at a guy that's capable of giving you 600 to 700 yards. We know that Aaron Rodgers is fond of his guys in the slot. I do have some concerns about the personality standpoint, right? If I'm remembering correctly, there was a number of plays, not just last year, but the year before that as well, where you seen him giving up on plays, not completing his routes, doing half-measured efforts, right? He may have given up on his route. It led to an interception, and then you seen him, fake dive at a guy's feet, something of that nature. That is something that I don't think this iteration of the New York Jets will go for whatsoever. It doesn't fit the all gas no brakes mentality. Not something Aaron Rodgers is going to look at highly, right? He'll be out the door instantly if that was to occur. But if that checks out, I would say this is a huge boost. You're essentially getting a gift from the Patriots, right? They're cutting him. The contract is going to be relatively cheap, right? This is going to be a guy that's going to try to bet on himself. You're being paired up with the best quarterback you've had since Aaron Rodgers, since Patrick Mahomes, and really the I don't want to say the sky is the ceiling, but he has a chance to really go back to producing a high-end number 2 type stats, even being third on our depth chart. And again, this would push Allen Lazard down to 4th. It puts Xavier Gibson back in better territory where he can continue to work on special teams as a returner while filling in and still doing some of those nuanced things like the end arounds and the jet sweeps that we've seen him look decently effective in last year, and continue to just work on his game, his craft. He can still spell Juju as necessary, but this way you don't have to rely on him taking such a leap where you probably project him to probably be in like the 60 to 70 percent snap range if he's truly the number 3 wide receiver in this offense at this point. So nonetheless, with all that said, let me know what you guys think about this move. If you can get Juju, let's say $3.5 million for a year or something like that, are you jumping on it? Do you feel like he'd be a good fit? And excuse me, and I'll catch you guys again. Peace.